Apparently we're now live, which means I can just hit this button and we can have a little bit of a countdown. No music this week. But there we go.
And no underneath bannery things.
Yes, I know, but I'm kind of working on that. But that's because I'm out and about and I don't have all of my files to hand. But I'm also going to...
And no underneath bannery things.
Yes, I know, but I'm kind of working on that. That's because I'm out and about. All of my windows.
You need a website. Why not do it yourself? With Wix, it's easy to create your own.
Yes, I know, but I'm kind of working on
You need a website. Why not do it yourself? With Wix,
we are having a lot of
create your own.
That was all me. Sorry.
Yeah, we're still learning this, I know. But, yeah. We're also going to have to, you're going to have to excuse me for any background noise as well, because we're live from ICE International Comic Expo in Birmingham in the UK. And all the panels kind of wrapped up about half an hour ago, and we're going to have a little bit of a kind of post-event mixer drinks reception kind of thing, and that's supposed to start at 7 o'clock, which means this will be an hour's broadcast, by the way. But as it happens, people are coming in now, so we may have one or two drop-in guests, so this could be interesting. Yeah, I mean, you can open up a YouTube window, Alyssa, you just need to mute it.
Yeah, no, I got it. I got it. Multitude of things occurring at the same time, learning the new system, and I was trying to get on, so I was having multiple browsers open, and, you know, pretty standard stuff. And we are...
There's an alarm. There's an alarm. So there we go. So let's stop that, and also stop that as well. Excellent stuff. And I've got myself the live chat window as well for everyone to interact. So if you, I know Graham Small's watching, and I know one or two others as well, but yes, we're all up and running now. We've got some viewers as well. And hopefully it's not going to be too glary in the background because, well, I'll talk about that in a second. So, and I have my cup of tea. So there we go. I'm all ready. Hopefully you're all ready. So, welcome to Talkin Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. My name is Leonard Sultana. Each and every week, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, we talk Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, and all the stuff and nonsense that goes around con culture, which is, of course, exploding around the world. Each and every week we try to have a special feature and also have some special guests, and sometimes on occasion we have ourselves a live broadcast from a convention. As it happens, I'm doing that live broadcast thing this week, hence no banner behind the International Comic Expo here in Birmingham. But before we get into that, we have my other partner in crime who's joined us. Hello, Alyssa Franks, how are you?
I'm well. Overcoming technical, you know, like little humps that we're going through, but recovering well from San Diego, from Star Trek missions in New York City.
Let's talk about that then, because we had our live report from we had 2 live reports last week, but you were broadcasting from Star Trek missions. Now that you've had a little bit of time away from the actual con, and you've had the chance to really think about it, what was your impressions now that the con is in the rearview mirror? What was your take on Star Trek missions?
I think that it actually has hit upon a new fan. I hesitate to say new fandom because Star Trek was the first fandom. But with the first conventions way back in the 60s, and the history was gone into quite a bit. But yeah. I think the Star Trek missions really addressed a new market. They had a lot of new merchandise, and a lot of new marketing was made to the Star Trek fans who were hungry for it, as was evidenced by the speed in which all of the T-shirts sold out. I thought for sure I had my eye on a particular T-shirt. I thought for sure I'd be able to get it the second day. It was sold out the first day. I was surprised. So I think that ReedPop really has hit upon a new niche, and I think that they're kind of, with this push towards conventions that are really geared towards one thing. They're geared towards Trek, or they're geared towards specific specific fandoms. I think that they're really onto something here. So I'm loving it, and especially they're also, BBC America is also doing a really great Star Trek TOS marathon this weekend, which is playing 24/7 in my household. I'm like, so I think ReedPop did a great job.
Well, I mean, it's safe to, well, Star Trek is pretty much the fandom which started con culture, if we're really going to get into the history of the whole thing. I mean, we've had Comic-Cons, and that's one thing. But when it comes to fandoms, Star Trek is where it all started. And I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, Alyssa, but I'm kind of guessing that it's more a case of ReedPop have brought their expertise in doing cons of a certain scale and a certain production value to a fandom that has been around for a long time, but it's also been a fandom that has been not underserved, but certainly hasn't been served to this level. So I think ReedPop, you're right, they know what they're doing. So that's
absolutely, and they hit upon what makes Star Trek appealing to all of us, which is the science, and it's a little bit different than some of the other fandoms out there, and they really drilled in and made it specific and enjoyable to us, which is brilliant on their part. So I love the addition of NASA, but that's a pet thing of mine anyway.
Yeah, we know your fascination, and to be honest, looking at the size of the booth they had, of the footprint of Star Trek missions, it certainly shows that that marriage of real-world science and Star Trek, it's something that you couldn't do at, say, Star Wars or any other kind of fandom. It's almost unique to Star Trek in that regard. So yeah, excellent stuff indeed. What's been chatted about on the forum this week? I mean, I can imagine with New York Comic-Con very much looming on the horizon, that a lot of chat's been about that this week.
It has been. We just started getting our tickets. I got my press pass, which I had intended to show everybody. I know. Anyway, press pass has Michonne, so I'm like, yes, I get to Michonne. Oh, very nice press pass that you have, Leonard.
Isn't that nice?
Talk. Yeah, so it goes to you, so everybody can see the picture of it.
Excellent. Okay, so I mean, what has the chat been about? Is it about programming? Is it about what people can expect to see at New York? What's been the general flow of conversation about?
Yes, I mean, we're talking about programming, we're talking about how to get there, logistics, transportation, because New York isn't the easiest city to get around. So we've even got a thread for people. How do I get to the convention center from Jersey? And those types of logistical.
When you have to have that kind of conversation, that says a lot about New York hosting a convention like New York Comic-Con, and of course, no doubt, there's been lots of talk about the taking over of I know that they're taking over Madison Square Garden, and they're also taking over another one as well. What's the other venue? I'm trying to remember.
Well, the Hammerstein, they were in the Hammerstein last year also, but the 2 days at MSG in their theater, which I think is about a 5,500 seat theater, on Friday and Saturday, certainly has a lot of people interested. I think they're while I hesitate to say that there is a contingent from the forum who is planning some maybe room camping, you know, getting into certain panels. There certainly is a strong Doctor Who and Walking Dead faction who are looking forward to that. And
Excellent
so.
stuff. Cool. Okay. Right. Well, I suppose what I can do is my live report. Don't forget, by the way, as always, this is a round table hangout, which means if you want to jump in with anything you want to talk about, do let us know. Graham Small has jumped in on the YouTube chat room and is saying, looking forward to a report from New York Comic-Con. We've got one or two people. I mean, Neil Patel's watching. We've also got Graham Small watching as well. If you do want to jump in, ask any questions, especially if anybody that may be dropping in, who knows, we may have some special guests going. Because like I say, at this point now, everyone's just chilled out. It's been a very long weekend here in Birmingham. It's been very intense. Some fantastic talent has been very much on display here. But I'll explain that this is definitely a con of two halves. Okay. ICE International Comics Expo. This is year 4, I believe. Well, Shane Chebsey is wandering around. I know we only got his voice on an interview that we did with him last week. He may be wandering around, so we may catch him to talk about his response to the whole affair. But this is very much a convention which is about the creators. It's about comics artists, comics writers, and a small amount of small press. There's a couple of dealer rooms or dealer tables, but not that many, to be fair. Also, this is the first time, I mean, this is the second time I've been to this con, and also the first time I saw a Pop Funko table, which did seem slightly out of place, quite frankly. But they were here, and there we go. Some amazing talent, like I say. Carl Potts has been here doing various talks. We've had Joe Pruitt, the legend, comics industry legend, who's now the CEO of Aftershock Comics, returning to ICE for the second year. Marguerite Bennett also came along representing Aftershock. Whole bunch of incredible talent. And what's really exciting about this con is, like I say, it's a con of two halves. The Saturday is very much ICE. It's about people coming in off the street, buying tickets, whatever, and wandering around and interacting and meeting this amazing talent. But then you've got today, which is Comics Uncovered, which is more creator-based in that it's workshops for people who are wanting to break into comics, wanting to develop their skills as comic creators, writers, artists. You've had portfolio reviews happening today. We've had a writer's room panel, which had people like Marguerite Bennett. You also had, I'm going to forget a whole bunch of names now, a couple of guys from 2000 AD. We've had Declan Shalvey doing a comics composition, storytelling in comics panel. It's been it was an odd experience for myself, because I come at comics and comic fandom from a slightly oblique angle, because I obviously have the website that covers comic conventions. So I was wondering what I was going to get out of today, because it isn't about an actual convention, it's more a...
Oh no, we seem to have lost Leonard there for a moment.
Oh,
are you back with us?
I am. I was talking. Ooh, okay. What do we lose?
Comic conventions. You were talking about, since you host comic convention, your site is primarily focused on comic conventions.
So because this is a creative based day, I wasn't too sure what I was going to get out of the day and the experience. But as it happens, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed the positivity and the desire for these very established professionals to help upcoming talent. I thought it was just really encouraging. So there we go. Oh, hello. A couple of people who are jumping in, and yes.
Nice.
Our first one. Hello there.
Hi, Len.
How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you.
Introduce yourself to our viewers. Who are you, and why have you come to this amazing
Okay, well, I'm Ollie McNamee. I am a teacher first and foremost, but I do have a second hobby of writing for Bleeding Cool and Pipe Dream Comics, and I'm here because I enjoy Shane's ICE events, and also to bag a few prizes for my reading week, because I'm a big believer in comics in the classroom.
Oh, fantastic. Excellent. I mean, what have been your highlights this weekend then? I mean, in terms of the people that you managed to see, because you've been very much, we have been crossing each other.
We've been
pinballing quite rapidly. So what's been the highlights of what you've seen this weekend?
Right, I'm going to repeat what everyone else is going to say by saying Gary Kurtz first and foremost.
Really?
But more importantly, Paul Goodenough and the whole crew behind the Chimera, which I'm really, really interested in after hearing the talk yesterday. But for me, it was catching up with Tony Lee, who I've not seen for a couple of years, I believe. Just as I was moving to Birmingham, he was moving out, reading To That What You Want. But it was just catching up with people, and like you said, reaffirming friendships, reaffirming acquaintances, so that the next time we see each other, we've got something to talk about. Because like I said, we do bump into each other, we'll be bumping into each other anymore.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just enjoying the vibe of the Comic-Con, and
I mean, what would you say makes ICE a different event than most other comic conventions?
it's, well, because of its focus purely on comics, and not very little time for cosplay. That's wrong. They don't not want them there. But I've noticed, for me, that's one of the bonuses of an event that's held on 3 separate floors in a building this size. I think cosplays are a great thing at certain conventions, but for a convention that's about the comics, it's about people wanting to break into comics with the Comics Uncovered on the Sunday today. I think it offers something a little bit more than any other comic convention I've been to.
I mean, it's very rare for a comics convention nowadays, because it's starting to get to the point where Comic-Cons, so like comics are becoming a peripheral part of a comic convention, but this is nothing.
This is all. This can call itself a Comic-Con.
Well, before you showed up, I was mentioning that there was the dealers' tables upstairs, and there was a Funko table, and it felt so out of place for it to be there, didn't it? It just felt very strange.
You know what? I didn't even notice it. Whereas at MCM, it's Funko wall to wall to wall. And what's interesting, one of the biggest sort of reactions I got to a photo I did recently in Glasgow. Bin Planet's there, very, very, very small, so sorry, Glasgow people. But half the stores seem to be just Funko. Now, I've got no problem with Funko, I've got some myself. But to have a half a store of a comic shop with one product and one product only, it does seem a bit of overkill.
So this event definitely is the kind of polar opposite of that. So
very much so. This is it. This is putting the comic into con when others, wait for it, put the con into Comic-Con.
You see what he did there? You see what he did? Excellent stuff. So who, as well as Gary Kurtz, I mean, and also catching up with 1 or 2 people.
Yes.
Did you manage to get to see any panels and manage to kind of get a chance to catch up with anything of that?
I saw the panels I wanted to yesterday because I was with my daughter, although I did ignore it. I saw artists who I would consider friends in cons, and for me it was really looking at the stunning sketches that people were buying, things that I couldn't necessarily afford, but it was great to see them in the flesh. Seeing those artists, people like Dylan T, people like Sean Phillips, people like Duncan Fu, Greedo, you know, in action, and sort of, and also
Maria
joy.
Sanapo, who I'm a massive fan of as well. Watching her work was pretty impressive as well. I mean, it's good to actually see these people actually, because they were actually really taking their time with the work as well. So it really wasn't just quick sketches. These were masterworks that were being created. That was very, very impressive.
So who are you coming here for? Because what Shane does well is he gets big names and different names each year. Last year Mike Moore, this year Joe Pruitt. Makes sense to me. There's a through line there to Shane's events as well. Do you see what I mean? It's not just one-offs. There seems to be a continuity from one year to the next.
Yes. I mean, for myself, I would certainly say the Aftershock guys, because I have been a massive supporter of that pretty much from its inception. Rachel Stott, I'm a massive fan of. So it was
local
great
girl in Birmingham.
Indeed,
lovely.
absolutely. It was also great to have that all ages panel as well, because it was talking about the distinction of young people's comics and all ages, and what it actually takes to create something which does appeal to across the board. So I enjoyed that panel. I mean, but then again, all the panels by Geek Syndicate are always a bit of a blast, because they do know how to make it very personable and very approachable and very fun to attend their panels. So that the panels which I did get to see were fun. That's what I was really happy.
I think that's the nail on the. It's a fun con. I posted some on Facebook saying always meet your heroes, because never ever 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 have I been disappointed by the people I've met here. And it's that opportunity to meet people in a venue that's well planned, so that you're not queuing necessarily. You can have a chat with them, whether it's at the bar here behind us, whether it's out on the con floor, for want of a better term. And it's realising that, you know, we're all human.
Sure. I mean, the one thing I will say, and I wonder if you agree with me as well, the layout of this particular con and this particular event is very strange, because it is unique. It's unique. It's on 3-4 levels of a studio space here. It's called the studio space here in Birmingham, and it's very much a bunch of it's rabbit warren. It's like lots of corridors going off in different directions, and lots of little rooms, and none of the rooms are numbered. They're named, which means you kind of have to know where stuff is. Otherwise, you can be bugged. You can get really lost really quickly. But that it kind of adds another element of character to the con.
Yeah, it's like going through the TARDIS, isn't it? Trying to work your way around. But of course, because Shane's used this venue a few times now, I think for returning guests like myself and you can find out. And you know what? The volunteers, I have not mentioned yet, they've been absolutely brilliant. They jumped out of their seats when I came through the door this morning, and I think that's something to be commended. Shane's built a huge, loyal, great team around him, and they've worked their backsides off, and you know, and they deserve that rest tonight and tomorrow and the rest of the week.
That's what we've got happening now, as people are starting to gather for tonight's kind of like shindig, just to kind of like celebrate that long weekend of just a lot of fun. We actually also have someone who's kind of loitering in the background. We'd love to have him join us. Let's see if we can.
I look short in this, so be careful, Paul, because I look short and I'm not.
It's not. I'm 6'4". It doesn't.
I'm nearly 6'4".
There we go. So, hi there. How are you?
Hi.
Nice to. This is the first time we've actually kind of met, because I've seen. This is Paul, by the way. If you would like to say what, we'll go that way first. Let's have an introduction and let everyone know who you are and why you're here.
Sure. So I'm Paul Goodenough. I'm the creator and writer of The Chimerian, and The Chimerian is a TV show and comic. Probably most people were coming to the project with an awareness of the producer of the TV show, which is Gary Kurtz, the Star Wars producer, also worked on Dark Crystal, Return to Oz, American Graffiti, and made a fair amount of money at the box office over his career. And we are here to launch / reveal our project.
Excellent. What has been the response from people coming through the door? I mean, today you kind of also sort of like did you do a panel about the project today as well?
No, I just did one yesterday.
It was just yesterday. So what was the response on Saturday?
It was fantastic. I mean, people were incredibly interested. There's also more than a slight tinge of disappointment. Without boring everyone at home too much, broadly we are in talks with a couple of publishers at the moment, and also a Hollywood studio and a few other places. And the idea was that deal would get done in time, so we could then give the comics away at the convention and basically hand them out. But because the deal was not done, you know, here's all the cool things that are going on.
So just to say, we've had a question because we had a little bit of a sound drop. What's the name of the project again?
Yeah, it's called The Chimerian, which is Chimeran. If you look up on Facebook, it's just The Chimerian.
Well, I'm sure, Alyssa, you'll get yourself. Will you get the link and you'll put it in the chat room?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll dig that out.
It's just facebook.com / The Chimerian. Nice and easy.
Excellent stuff. Well, I mean, let's do a little bit of a mini pitch then. Can you do the elevator pitch of The Chimerian?
Sure. So some of you may already be aware, some of you may not be. Chimera is when you take one or more species and you put them together. So the chimera is a Greek mythological character, but chimerans really exist. So in certain countries, and if you go to certain food establishments, you will have already eaten a chimeran. So a chimeran is one or more animal that can have been either mixed with another or accentuated by science. So the chimera in our story, what we're doing is we're setting the story in a potential future, a possible future, whereby mankind needs extra help to produce food and to do the things that natural resources have run out. Natural resources run out, so they need help in doing things. So they create a bred-for-purpose workforce to do the things that they can't do anymore. So a lot of that is in farming things like super kelp or doing the back-breaking work we don't have the machinery to do anymore. So there's kind of a key core principle of the chimeran that actually is the more important thing to get across. So back in history, at some point, somebody basically said, I need a tool to do a job. So they would have created things like an axe or a knife, because they need to cut down a tree, or they need to skin an animal, or whatever it might be. They had a job that needed doing, and they made a tool to do it. So that is the chimera. That is what these animals are. They'd be a bred-for-purpose workforce. But say, for example, I invented the knife. Say you invented the knife. You may have nothing but the exact reason that the knife was built for.
Yeah.
But somebody else could come across, cut that knife, and in your hand it's a tool, but in my hand it's a weapon.
Yeah.
And it gives me power. And there is a principal guiding story of the chimeran. These creatures were created to be a help and as used as a tool to aid mankind. But of course, you get people who abuse that power.
Yeah.
And that kind of principal edict runs throughout the story. And the whole story takes place in a world where there isn't enough to go around. So the question to you, and actually the question after for everyone in the chimeran, is if you knew the world was going to hell in a few months' time, and there wasn't going to be enough food to go around, there wasn't going to be any way of protecting yourself, what sort of person would you be? Would you be trying to squirrel away? What
kind of principles would you bend and break, I suppose?
Exactly. I mean, if you had people who relied on you for their very life and their lifestyle, would you try to basically welcome them? Would you have your arms open, knowing there's not enough to go around? Would you try and kill other people to make there be more for you? Would you
it sounds like a very bold project. So, in terms of comics, then, and in terms of this particular con, and you say you got a very positive response.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it sounds like a very, not controversial, but very contentious issue. So, how did it sit in terms of the other content that you've seen here? Was it something that you felt was a little bit more serious, other than the other content that has been on display here?
Broadly, we literally couldn't get off our stool.
Wow.
So we were just stuck there for the in a good way. But we were stuck there for the entire time. From the moment we turned up to the end of the convention and beyond, we didn't get a chance to see anything else. But I am a massive comic fan. I've got 20,000 comics and hundreds of graphic novels. So I do know the content out there. And I think it's fair to say that basically the comic audience has changed a lot. So I think the days have gone a little bit where people want a principally framework-driven story, which is you introduce in the first few panels the antagonist, and then you introduce the stakes are, and then you introduce like a curveball, and then it resolves itself at the end. I think people can see that happening a lot more now, and those normal framework comics that are being rife throughout the industry are starting to be played around with, that people are looking to do more with them. And so people out there like obviously 2000D has been doing for years, and Image are doing a great job of it, 451 are doing a great job of it, and Dark Horse again. Those guys they're challenging the audience as well, and I think we fit quite comfortably in that space. Although yes, I mean there is parts of the reality, the things happen in real life that are a little bit unsettling.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
So today has been a slightly different day, because obviously you can then kind of put that sales pitch aside for 1 minute and enjoy today. What's been a highlight of today, of the Comics Uncovered section?
Yeah, well, I've really enjoyed Alec Worley's Big Fat Writers panel. It was just really nice. I think he did a great job. And
I remembered Marguerite Bennett because I have a crush, quite frankly. But then I have a total mind blank because it has been a long weekend. Of the other 3 creators who were on that time, it was
James
Delano,
Bobby Morrison, and Andy Diggle.
There we go. It was certainly the 2 from 2008, and I just had a complete mind blank.
But
there you go. You got me. Thank you. So, I mean, what did you take away from that panel? Because there was a lot in there. It was a full. Alec really did cover from the genesis of becoming a writer all the way through to just what it means to be a writer, what the actual working process is. I mean, what did you take away from it?
Well, actually, I think I think you usually get the best out of people when you're helping to direct them in a certain route, but also challenging them. And I think that bit at the end around the Q&A was really good. So broadly, what they were talking about was, what does it mean to be a writer? How do you write? Because that bit is the scary bit. The bit where you sit down in front of a computer, you look at a blank page, and you need to start typing. And we actually spoke as a collective, and I posed a question to them about my writing principles. And one of the things that I always do is to make sure that you're mobile, you move. Ideas happen when you're living. They don't happen when you're myopic and just staring at a blank screen. And I think that, more than most other things in the panel, would have really helped someone to recognise that you can have all the tools and the frameworks you think. You can read all the books, you can go to the seminars, you can take all the online creative courses, but understanding inherently how to go from a blank page to the beginning to the story is the thing that I think actually most writers really need.
Yeah, I was really struck by as well is that a couple of sentences which wasn't just said in the writers' room, it was said in a couple of panels as well. And when it was talking about people breaking into comics, I was really struck by the sentence that the industry doesn't want to see that you are creating something; they want to see that you can finish something. I thought that was a very insightful statement, but it just makes so much sense when it's said out loud by a professional that is wanting to help you. And that's why I found across all of the panels today that I mentioned it earlier that there is that sense that everyone is just here to help. Everyone it's not a case of constructive criticism. It's just okay. Let's just. I mean, the sentence that I use in another element of my life is pass the ladder down.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a case of, okay, let's just help you get up the ladder. And I thought it's really positive for an event for this to happen.
I agree. I've been to loads of cons in my time, and they're principally in most events that you get a division between those that have and those that have not, or those that are and those that want to be. And it's very easy, I think, for a con organizer, a convention organizer, to say, we'll have the guests over here, and we'll have the fans over here, and the fans are to queue up to meet the guests, or it's just to make that division. And I think what Shane and his team have done a fantastic job of doing is trying to break down those barriers and actually basically saying, if you're a guest and you're coming here, you will be asked questions. You will have people who are looking to basically emulate what you're doing, and you should try to help them.
I also found as well that the guests that they've invited are, while they are in the industry, they are also fans themselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
Shane has made damn sure that the people he's inviting, that is almost their principal guiding light when it comes to their own work, that they are fans of the medium themselves. They aren't just the kind of, I mean, especially with, say, like with Aftershock, these are which is it kind of has to be in today's market, because it is something that you have to come from that space of positivity. So I've been really impressed with it.
No, I agree.
Excellent.
I think one of the things that actually is really good point to any aspiring writers out there is something Andy Diggle said. I'm going to completely rip him off here, but it's a wonderful line, which is he said he always gets asked how people always ask him, how to break into comics. No one ever asks them how to write better, and it's like that's a really good thing.
Really good, nice. Excellent. So, I mean, Alyssa, is there any questions that you have, or are you just enjoying us rambling on?
I'm enjoying you rambling on, but I will question, is it Chimera City Comics? I'm trying to post the link for you, and the only thing I'm finding on Facebook is Chimera City by Det Falco.
It's just.
So let's see if we'll find it at this end as well, and we'll see if we can.
Okay.
So if you want to just type in there,
Sure.
and then we can kind of get that.
I want to make sure to get the publicity to the comic that we're talking about on, so our fans can follow through with it and take a look at what you're doing.
Sure. Well, I'm going to post this in the chat room now. But what we'll also do is we'll stick it in the show notes as well. So if you are watching this, do head to the facebook.com/the Chimeran. That's TheChimeran. Okay. So that's what you're looking for. Excellent stuff. Paul, thank you so much indeed for jumping in and talking about that. And certainly we'll keep an eye on the project and see how it develops as we go through. Are you going to be appearing at any other cons? Is there any other?
Well, probably.
Oh, okay.
Really, we need to get that deal.
That deal settled.
That deal is kind of like, that's
make
the.
or break everything.
Well, not break. No, it's just until that deal happens, we're just going to really annoy people by saying, "Hey, look at our project. You can't have these comics."
Yeah.
It's just frustrating for people. So
I think it's a case of do check out the Facebook page and support it. Absolutely, do what you can to share it and spread that.
And we will be releasing news as and when it happens.
Excellent stuff. Paul, again, thank you
Cheers.
very much indeed. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Because I think that's the other element of today, which I'm just about to talk about. Because we kind of touched on this last week when we spoke to Shane. One element of the con, which is very strong, is the networking element. So as well as portfolio reviews, it is artists talking to writers, writers talking to other writers, publishing people talking to small publishers. So it's very much a networking thing, which is why last night there was an event here, which is going to be repeated in an hour or so when they do today's kind of thing, networking party. And yes, I did get particularly drunk last night. I didn't embarrass myself. I wasn't dancing on tables and removing articles of clothing, but no, it was a very, very fun evening. And I'm looking forward to catching a little bit of a glimpse before I drive home tonight of that. So there we go. That's ICE International Comic Expo. I really hope that it comes back next year, because while it's a nice sunny evening here in Birmingham today, yesterday it was incredibly overcast. There was showers throughout the course of the day, and at the end of the day it does rely on footfall from people coming past and encountering the expo. So the numbers were very much down on last year, which was slightly disappointing. I'm hoping that Shane can get past that and continue Comics Expo, and hopefully it'll be back next year, because I personally think it is a well-required element to the con calendar here in the UK to have something this focused on comics. It's fantastic. We've got
it kind of reminds me of New York, Reed Pop's New York Special Edition from a year or two ago, which I was able to ask them about when I spoke with them earlier this month. And they did say that they were planning on bringing back Special Edition to get that comic creators vibe going. The closest thing that I've seen for that kind of vibe at larger cons was in the New York Comic-Con with the Artist Alley that they had, that there really was that sense of community and people networking and talking with each other, because it was so focused just specifically on the comics and all of the pop culture and TV shows and that sort of stuff was removed. You still could access it, but it was removed. So it's nice to see that ICE is doing the same thing.
Yeah, I totally agree, and like I say, I do feel it's a necessary element because we are seeing too many conventions, which are very much the pop culture. Well, I have no problem with that, but I mean, we kind of touched on this last week, didn't we, Alyssa? When we felt that perhaps cons, which are a little bit more focused in their attention, is possibly the way to go, because at least then it allows very much that passionate fandom to be focused at a very specific level. So that was rather cool. Just to show you a couple of things. Oh, go on.
I was thinking the days of the large conventions. I mean, we're always going to have, hopefully we'll always have the San Diego and the New York Comic-Cons, but I think that the days of having one convention that does it all, we may be moving out of that phase and getting into.
There's going to be space enough for both. Con point now where there are cons every weekend, so I'm hoping that there is space for both the super focus con and the general all access. However, the other one thing that did happen at this event is what happens at most cons, is where you get the chance to get your books signed. So I just thought I'd show you a couple of these. This is this is Black Eyed Kids, which is a very creepy little number from Mr. Joe Pruitt. I did actually have an interview, and we are uploading this either tonight or tomorrow. Great 10-minute chat with Joe about the first year of Aftershock. Black Eyed Kids is something which he published, and we talked about the timing of it, because at the end of the day, if he'd have launched it when they launched Aftershock, then it really would have felt like a vanity project. But it was a case of, I've got this story to tell, and I own this imprint, so that allowed me to do it. So that was Black Eyed Kids, and this is a variant cover of it. So he's nicely signed it for me there. So that was very nice. And they also had, and this is I bought this a month ago, the first run printing, and I would say it's the first breakout hit for Aftershock. And I think I mentioned this on the show last week as well, which is Animosity, which is just a stunning book. And yes, Marguerite Bennett has signed that. If you do get a chance to pick this book up, do it. It's so much fun. The idea is that an event happens, a world event called the Wake, which basically all the animals in the world wake up and get consciousness and start talking. To the point where you have okay, I mean, there's a little bit of Prey in there, or is it Zoo, the other series as well, but this goes literally 0 to 100 straight away. So you have like cows in a slaughterhouse turning around to the farmer and going, "I have always loved you." You have panda bears screaming at their owners going, "We should have died years ago. Why have you kept us alive?" You've got my favorite panel, which I wish I could try and find it straight away, which is in bed, two people in bed, and the cat walks up the chest of the bloke and says, "If you ever fucking hit her again, I will cut out your eyes and kill you in your sleep." And you just have the cat say that. You say, "Whoa!" It's a brilliant book. I really would check it. It's a fantastic read.
It brings to mind, I have to say, it brings to mind, so do the cats plot to take over the world? Because we all know that they're planning on doing it. So, I mean,
in comics, that's true. You're absolutely right. Well,
isn't there a Binky in the Brain, comic skit from years ago about cats taking over the world or something? Anyway, Animaniacs.
Give you an idea. Hang on, let me just.
Oh, that's gorgeous. So you realize that now that you're bringing out vanity pieces, I can bring out vanity pieces after New York Con, right?
Absolutely. You do that anyway, so it's a lot of fun. And last but not least, I did get Declan Shelby's Hancock on that. Oh, now come on, let's have a look.
So I have to bring out my Trek Spock signed piece that I just happened to have.
Nice.
Sorry. So what was that? I'm sorry, Leonard. That was rude of me.
Picking up more at well, actually, the next big con for myself is Lates. which happens in a month's time. And yes, we will be doing a live report for that. Let's see what's happening. Violet Kruger. Lenny is dressed really nice today. It's a jacket over a shirt. It's my Star Wars shirt. I'm not dressed that nice, but you know, I scrub up when I want to do an interview and stuff. But lots of fun. Samantha Beard, ICE sounds amazing. Thanks for a great show. Thank you very much indeed for watching today. What else have we got? Looking forward to a report from NYCC on my maybe list for 2018. I really want to go. It sounds like such a fun show, and I really would be looking forward to that.
It's shaping up to be a good show. I'm hoping that we can get some of the organizers from ReedPop on the show. We haven't heard back from them, but we do have our fingers crossed with regards to that. I'm hoping that we may be able to get a couple of in-depth events happening for New York. So that's, you know, that is the hope for New York. And love to have you, love to meet you and have you, bring you over to the States.
I know, I'd love to. Just to let you, I mean, we've been having almost non-stop live reports over the last couple of weeks, which is fine. I mean, we enjoy doing them, and it's a lot of fun. But we are going to be hopefully sort of like stepping away from that a little bit over the course of the next couple of weeks. We are hoping that we are going to be joined by a couple of people that are going to talk about con culture and hopefully give us a little bit of a taste of what's to come in terms. I'm just trying to find who we may be talking to. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the guy's name.
Oh, you're doing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. No, yeah, I've remembered it. It's Anthony Brezican from. I believe he's from Entertainment Weekly. Yeah, senior writer for Entertainment Weekly. You may have seen him on Hall H panels and various panels at San Diego Comic-Con. So hopefully we're going to get Anthony Brezican on in the next week or so. So watch this space, more to come. Speaking of this week, what's happening in terms of television this week? Our week in TV. Did you see the link there? You see that?
ID Entertainment. I got it. It worked out well. It is the beginning of the fall season. A huge start to the fall season with new and returning series. We don't have a lot of returning new shows that are premiering this week, aside from The Son of Zorn, which is an interesting animation show that is being put on by on Fox. They're going to do a special presentation of it tonight. It's about an animation character that lives in Orange County, is trying to get his wife back. It sounds like a really interesting mashup that they're doing. Regardless, primarily this week we're having the end of a lot of shows at this point. So we've got the season finale of Last Ship, my personal favorite, Brain Dead. If you are not a fan of American politics at this point, it's a particularly biting, satirical look at
a couple of months ago, I think we need to be fans or interested in American politics at this point. So no, I've seen a couple of episodes of Brain Dead. I'm a big fan. It's a great show.
It's an amazing show, and just how biting satirical that it can be, so satirical about what's going on, about the polarization is just brilliant. To have a network put it on at this time is fabulous. We're, like I mentioned, we've got the season finales of Last Ship. We're saying farewell to Beauty and the Beast. I think next Thursday is their last episode. Dark Matter wraps up, as does Ripper Street, which is a BBC America favorite of mine. But we've also got returning this week is Blind Spot, American Horror Story, Z Nation, and we mentioned The Son of Zorn already. So it looks, we're getting right into it. And of course there's football. And yes, I will announce I am doing fantasy football this year.
What was that, sorry?
I am doing fantasy football this year.
Oh, man.
I know.
Fair enough.
We'll see. I don't know.
Go sports team. That's all I can say.
It looks fun for the numbers. We'll see. We'll see. I'm giving it a shot because however many people, millions of people that do it, they can't be all wrong. So
yeah.
I will report back.
I've been having a couple of comments off some personal posts which I put up on my last night in San Diego this time around. We went to see a baseball game at the stadium, and I think we left halfway through because we were just totally baffled. So like, the stick ball man hit the ball with the stick, and he ran, and then he ran back, and what is that all about? So we got
That's how I feel about rugby. Okay, because I can understand soccer, your football, that makes sense to me. We got that over here, but rugby, what? And the one that they do with a little paddle thing, I don't know.
Okay, you get confused by rugby. We get confused by baseball. Everybody gets confused by cricket. Is that it? Is that
yes, exactly.
There we go. Got a couple of questions coming in on the chat room. Graham Small asking about lakes and asking, is it comic centric? It's slightly different, and there is a different taste to it. It's another one which is a different, unique experience, because it's very much about the artists. It's very little about the writing. It's all about the art of comics, but also about fine art. So it just takes it in a slightly more cerebral fashion. It's a very interesting show. I am going to be doing a live report from that, very much up for that. Angela Copley, we saw an awesome cosplay of Braindead at Dragon Con, used the Cars song and everything. So really, if you've got any pictures of that or anything of that, Angela, love to see it. And Violet Kruger, we do a fantasy movie league where we bid on movies and total up how much they make at the box office. Now that's a fantasy league I can get behind. I like that. I like that idea. But there we go. Cool. Right. Is there anything else that we can talk about before we wrap things up?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered it all. Just if you get a chance to, I would highly urge people to look up Braindead and try and to watch it, stream it, just catch it up from the beginning.
Well, I will do the second that the missus decides to relinquish the remote to me, so that she can stop watching Gilmore Girls repeats, because it's just getting a bit much in our house now. So there we go. She's just watching Gilmore Girls. That's all she's doing. It's freaking me out. But yeah,
I've never watched the show, so I'm clueless. I'm sorry.
I know there's a lot of fans of Gilmore Girls, but all I can think is, if I lived in that town of Stars Hollow, I would just be slapping everybody, because they're all hard work. Just slap.
So not hard science fiction, I take it. No.
No. Oh well.
No. Okay. Sorry.
Science fiction.
Clueless.
Science fiction in the fashion that a mother and daughter absolutely love each other. So there you go. That's as sci-fi as it gets. Right. Okay. Thank you very much indeed for Alyssa. Where can people find you online?
Friends of CCI, at Friends of CCI is my Twitter handle. friendsofcc.com/forum is the forum. And the blog is Friends of CC, where we are going to be publishing our VR report later on today from...
Because it did look like such an amazing element of Star Trek missions. Very much up for reading that. That looks like...
I am a convert. I am an absolute convert, and I don't know if I'm going to do first adopter, but I certainly am right up there with first or second gen.
I had my VR moment and popped my VR cherry at Star Wars Celebration, because ILM VFX have done Encounter on Tatooine, and stuck the whole. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I totally get it. So there we go. Thank you very much indeed, Alyssa. My name is Leonard Sultana, and you can find me on Twitter, Englishman SDCC. You can also there. be unveiling a special project, which I've nicknamed Project Blue Book at the moment, but it's just something that's been rattling around for a while, and we should hopefully be doing a little bit of a launch show in a couple of weeks' time. If you want to find out more, I am revealing details to my Patreon supporters. If you go to patreon.com/EnglishmanSDCC, I've been posting a little bit about Project Blue Book, but I'm looking forward for everyone to find out what this project's all about, because if you are a San Diego Comic-Con fan, it's relevant to you. So there we go. Thank you very much indeed. I'm now going to enjoy a couple of cheeky orange juices. Thank you.
Hair of the dog, huh?
Do take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and hopefully we'll see you in 7 days' time for another Talkin Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. Take care.
Bye-bye.